From an unlucky TKO loss to Pereira at UFC 281 to getting an immediate rematch to win back the title, Israel Adesanya is still determined to level the scores as he gears up to fight his rival for the fourth time. But despite his unshaken confidence, Sean Strickland doesn't think Izzy can win. The last time fight fans saw these giants square off was last year, back in November at UFC 281. I wouldn't say it was a close fight or something.
Almost at the same time, and then you have me and Alex Volkanovski headlining this International Fight Week, the biggest card of the year, with fucking stylistically perfect fights.
Since Izzy clearly had it in the bag, he dominated Pereira in all 5 rounds, except for that last sequence when the Poatan managed to land some hard shots of his own. But apart from that, it was all Adesanya. I mean, had the fight gone to the scorecard, Izzy would still be the middleweight champion today. And that's exactly why I fail to realize why everyone is so against the idea of Adesanya beating Pereira. It's not like he's invincible or something, right? He got rocked by Adesanya early on in the fight, and if there was a little more time left on the clock, I'm sure Izzy would have ended things right then and there. And regardless of the below-average performance, the MMA world is going nuts over how dominant the Brazilian is inside the octagon. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a brilliant fighter, but let's get one thing straight here. He did not dominate Adesanya.
Well, you know, the old Mozzie, my arch nemesis, that other what's his name? Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles. I knocked him out twice with one fat last night.
It wasn't an extraordinary performance by any means. And when guys like Sean Strickland think Izzy will run, dance, and be a little at UFC 287, I can't help but disagree. And you know what's funny about that? Run, dance, and be a little you-know-what is exactly what Sean did when he fought Alex for the first time. At least the last stylebender went in there and put on a show, right? Plus, let's not forget about Izzy's leg. I don't know how true this is, but Adesanya claims he hurt his leg early on in the fight against Pereira. He apparently did some damage to a nerve that kept shutting down his leg after every 10 to 15 seconds. And if that really is the case, imagine how difficult it must have been to survive. Also, I don't know about you, but I feel he could have escaped those punches in the last round if he had the mobility. He looked sort of trapped, and you could tell he wanted to get out of there, but just couldn't. So maybe he's right about hurting a nerve in his leg. But what's the point of telling you all this? Well, guys like Sean can talk all they want.
I know June doesn't have a pay-per-view yet, but like I said, I'm the new dog in the yard. I'm the big dog in the yard now, and I know the other dog, Jared Cannonier, did some work tonight, so yeah.
But the truth is, Izzy was ahead by miles, even with a compromised leg. Or in other words, at least he didn't eat a nasty left hook to get knocked out in the first like Strickland. He fought, and fought brilliantly. So yeah, I think it'll actually be a super close competition the next time these guys dance, because I expect both of them to make adjustments. Izzy will probably be working on controlling the distance, while the Poatan tries to improve his technicality. And when you think about it, it's just power versus technique at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure I don't need to tell you who has what, since it was obvious. At UFC 281, Izzy was clearly the smarter fighter that night, but the disparity in power was right in front of us as well. I mean, imagine if Izzy had more firepower up his sleeve. That moment when he wobbled Alex would have actually been a knockout.
I tried to get his leg because I hurt his leg, but once he realized it was hurt, he was really tentative and defensive with it, but kudos to his boxing team and his boxing coach.
He didn't make the same mistakes, but if you take a look up here, we get a look at some of your work.
But at the same time, it also means he's more technical. He's a beast at controlling the distance and making sure his opponent stays within reach for a quick jab or kick. But it's the damn power of Pereira. He doesn't even need to swing or wind up. It's incredible how he's able to generate so much power without even being in the right position. And that's what gets Izzy every single time. It's almost as if he's always looking out for it, if you ask me. That's probably what messes the most with his game. But yeah, at the end of the day, Izzy is the more technical fighter. And if he focuses on that, instead of getting carried away, he could easily walk out of the cage with the title wrapped around his waist after UFC 287. But did you know it's not even about the title anymore? Yep, I'm not making this up. Izzy doesn't even care about the title anymore. He's so bent on leveling the scores that he stopped worrying about the belt, even if there was no title on the line.
Valvake, I love you, man. Willie, John, James, all the Vaca fam. Issa Banana. All love, you know what we do. This fight I dedicate to you, Fall.
Adesanya claims that he still would have wanted to fight him since he knows he can beat him now. And if you ask me, I think that's the right way to go about it. Forget all that and just focus on winning, because the last time around, he did have some extra pressure on him. Not only was he 2 down, but he had to defend the title as well. This time around, all the pressure is on his opponent in his first title defense. And it would be a shame to lose it to the man he won it from. And even though I think Izzy is the better fighter on paper, I'd be a fool to count Alex out. Did you know he watched the fight like a day after the win? Yep, he had the tapes running and watched the fight multiple times to see what he could have done better. So while I'm talking about Izzy being better the next time he fights, let's not forget how Pereira will be a different fighter as well.
Perfect fights, for us to display our skills. That's what really something that's powerful that I feel like can't be stopped, especially when we get it done.
He'll be more careful of Izzy's technical brilliance, and that's exactly what's going to make it a super interesting matchup. And speaking of interesting matchups, Sean thinks a fight against the last stylebender will also be equally thrilling. After hearing what he had to say, I have a feeling Strickland is afraid of Alex. And I don't blame him, but he should also be scared of Adesanya too, Sure, he might not hit as hard as the Brazilian, but getting slept once is much better than eating multiple shots in every single round. But yeah, Sean said he'd be much more relaxed in a fight against Izzy since he doesn't have the same power as Pereira. He'd go in there with his hands up and walk at the last stylebender as if he was the Terminator. It sounds really cute, but I think all of us know that Strickland would get smacked every single time.
I'm here with the winner and still champion, Israel Adesanya. Izzy, what were you saying to him right there?
I was just saying, at the end of the day, I don't like you, you don't like me, but this is martial arts. Show some respect.
And I know he's fooling around most of the time, but I seriously think he doesn't know how good Izzy is. I mean, the guy's ruled over the division for such a long time, but regardless of all his achievements, what does Alex think of the matchup? Well, he thinks Izzy should have walked away after UFC 281.
And still, the undisputed UFC middleweight.
And honestly speaking, I think he has a point. What's Adesanya trying to do here? He's lost 3 times and risks losing it for the 4th time as well. Also, even if he wins, it's not like he's truly balanced the scores or something. The score will still be 3-1. And even though it sounds better than 4-0, let's hope Izzy knows that's a possibility. Because let's not forget, he's putting his image on the line as well. I'm sure he doesn't want to be the fighter who's lost 4 times to his rival. That's definitely not good for his brand or legacy. But yeah, that's what Sean had to say about Adesanya versus Pereira at UFC 287.